So I'm just going to assume that. I feel a little bit like Data from Star Trek right now, because I can't really move very much. There's a great Star Trek game, by the way, coming out next month on the 12th, so you must check it out. So real quick in terms of a back history for this. So about the beginning of this year, we were hearing a lot of different individuals and a lot of the press saying that, hey, game investments are dead, they're dying. And we actually crunched the numbers and felt that wasn't true because people weren't looking at the nuanced perspective. So that led to a blog post from VentureBeat, a couple of different talks at various conferences and at YetiZen. And this is the updated version of that based on your data we collected the second half of this year. So, where's my little clicker there? Clicker. Or could you just go one over? Gordon, can you grab the clicker for me or something? I don't have it on me. There we go. We got it. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover today. Where I'm coming from, a quick note on our methodology because that happens to be the most common question at these things. Some things that we found, and then some takeaways based on this and other things we've seen in the industry. So where am I coming from? Who am I? Why should I be talking about this? So real quick, I went to school for business strategy. I was an in-house analyst for many years at a lot of old school industries. I started New York City's first entrepreneur hub called Ultralight Startups, consulted with companies like Foodspotting, Betfair, MTV Networks, and then for the last 4 years I've been working in games. I run a company called YetiZen. The most prominent part of what we do is that we run a games accelerator, and we also run a number of different events for game developers. So in our network we have something like 10,000 game developers. We have about 1,500 startup applications every year. It takes 16 to 20 of those companies, and we have a large intensive investor network. So some of the logos you see there are investors in the board of YetiZen. So our methodology. What we did was, we went to Raymond James, which is an M&A bank and a friend of ours, and we said, hey guys, give us the data you have for venture investments 2012, 2013. We cross-checked each deal with Crunchbase and other publicly traded, publicly available resources for the stage of the funding, whether it was seed, first venture rounds, first VC ever that came in, the date of inception of the company, and we took out all seed and Kickstarter deals. That's very important. A common mistake is to not actually take those out. Those aren't really indicative of a belief in the industry. That's really a particular investor believing in a product, believing in a person, believing in something they may have seen before. So we took those out. We also took out, for most of this analysis, the follow-on venture rounds, which is based on the thinking that, hey, any investment bet I made in the past didn't perform as well with that money that I gave them, as opposed to what they feel about new opportunities coming up in the game industry. Okay? Some additional notes there. We are going to be making this available, so you can check this out later when we put it on SlideShare. So here's what we found. First, venture investments by platforms as well as by game studios. Game studios actually went up by about 3, and platforms went down about 2. Very small universe, but that's all the companies in the last year that got their first venture investment. Interestingly, the years that everyone touts saying we were really high on game and venture investing did not have significantly higher a number of game investments than either. Okay, so more game studios than platforms got invested. A common myth you hear out there is that, hey, game platforms are where all the money is, no one really invests in game studios. That's actually not true. Game studios are still getting invested in. But the time it takes from the start of a company to when that first venture financing happens has been going up and up and up over the last several years. When we did this run for 2012 data, it was about 26 months. Now it's 35 months. So companies that started 35 months ago, if they've actually achieved traction and success, are likely to get funded by venture now, right? So that's a long time to be waiting for your first venture round if you're a game studio. You should not be depending on venture money to survive. You actually want that to scale. So a lot more success. These are some of the companies that got their first venture investment. Some of these, like Arcadium, have been around for a very long time. Others for a shorter period of time. But on the right-hand column, you see the highest rank they achieved in any particular category. So a lot of these are top 1s, top 4s. So within the top 10, those are the folks that got their first venture investment in 2012. Median. So we looked at the median because, of course, as you all know from math class back in high school, if you look at mean, outliers typically would make your overall mean go up quite a bit. So this is the average investment deal size in terms of millions of dollars, not average, median rather, and that has actually been going down. So from 4 million in 2012 to a median of 1.95 million in 2013. So some of our takeaways, right? Venture comes in after significant traction. You need to plan for this. Don't turn to venture if you're actually trying to prove out product market fit, okay? Venture is valuable to scaling. If you look at the top 10 grossing games in the US, 9 out of 10 of them are from venture-backed companies, right? Very important point, which a lot of people in the game industry tend to miss, which is our last takeaway, is that the companies that got venture investment did not get venture investment for actually making a great game or a game that did really well. It was usually for their key value proposition was for something other than just that game and that hit. It could be distribution, it could be having like an audience, some kind of audience aggregation play, whatever that is. That's the type of thing that venture is typically looking at an investment to decide, is this going to be something with a sustainable competitive advantage? Are you going to be able to repeat and scale your success from here, right? So that's our quick takeaways for this presentation. If you can connect with me here, ask me questions there. I'll take any other questions you have right now. If you actually ask me something, which I don't know off the top of my head, because that file, by the way, we did for this analysis has like 14 tabs, and I don't carry it all in my head, I will respond to that by end of day tomorrow in a blog post on our website. So with that, any quick questions for me? There we go.
So what kind of category do you think has potential going forward?
What kind of category do I think has opportunity going forward?
Yeah, you had a slide with like trivia, casino, role-playing music. What other categories would you say?
So that's a very tough question. Now let me tell you why, right? So the question that a lot of people ask is like, hey, what kind of category? The question was, by the way, what kind of category do you think has a lot of potential going forward? It's tough because it really depends on how other companies in that category might be performing, and everyone has a unique sense of thinking about that category analysis, right? So, for example, there are some people who say, if I look at my mobile right now, what other activities do I do with it that there are no games for right now? Photos, for example, photo trivia, that was the hypothesis behind any company that went into that in the last year, right? What else could I be doing? You know, is there something other behavior that is quick and snackable, which is the same type of experience as on a mobile device that a lot of people could be doing on mobile? That's what led to some of the ideas behind casino, right? Everyone has a different sense of category analysis and what might actually be working. What I can say from all of the companies that we've been looking at in the last year, the 1,500 or so that have applied, is that anything that actually goes after a smaller, more niche audience, but actually does it in a more competitive way. So beginning of this year, there's a lot of stuff in education, distribution, and actually winning on distribution educational games is a key target. A lot of people have won that. So if someone's actually doing an educational game company now, how are you unique and different in both the engagement and actually monetizing higher than those companies that may have already gotten that funding or may even be on the way to acquisition right now? So not quite fully answering your question, but the whole process of category analysis is a very complicated one, and everyone falls on a different spectrum on that. I myself tend to look at companies after we've seen enough traction and then feel that, hey, let's actually get these guys to scale. So I do not make bets on what category is going to be hot. I look at all the companies I see within particular categories and say, can we actually help this company scale in terms of doing profitable user acquisition? Can we help them monetize more? If yes, you know, how unique are they with other things we see in the market? Is there another company out there that is better funded that actually is doing the same thing? What's really unique about the strategy of this team? So a complicated answer to a short question. Anything else? Yes, one over there. I can't really see your face, so I can't lip read, so maybe you can yell out loud. Yes, we can share numbers on that, so we will do that on our blog post by tomorrow. So typically the companies that did get first, so the question was, most companies that got funded, was there one hit in the top tier or did they have multiple ones? So typically the companies that did get funded had been around for several years and had had multiple hits. Some of them actually may not have actually got into the top 10 hit-wise, but had been around for a very long time and had actually been profitable in that time. So it was a different kind of calculation for them. It really depends, back to that earlier question, category analysis. Every VC you would go to has a hypothesis about the category, similarly to me, based on looking at a lot of companies in that category, right? So if, for example, you're doing social casino right now, if they happen to look at Coolbit and some of the other guys doing social casino, they're going to be comparing you to that number and comparing you to what kind of user base or other type of repeatable technology or assets of some other kind Coolbit or other comparable companies have collected, and how much money do they think it's going to take you to get there? Are they willing to make that type of a bet, or are they going to wait and actually go into some of the more mature companies? The trend seems to be to go into some of those more mature companies. So if you are actually in a foreign country, oftentimes there's a lot more seed and angel investing going into games, so you have a bit of a buffer to try and build to that point. If you're in the US, there is very little angel investing in games. I blame some of our last few acquirers for that. Any other questions? There's a smile over there. Some thoughts which are not being shared. Okay, anyways, come find me after. If you have any other questions, feel free to tweet them to me. And anything that's related to actual more crunching of the numbers, we'll respond to that in our blog post. Thank you very much.